Hello and welcome to our WrestleMania 32 preview. It's John Pollock alongside Jimmy Korderas. We are getting set for the big show on Sunday night at AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas.
Yes.
Not Dallas. I know that is going to be a major error. Many will repeat over the next couple of days, but actually, let's give some love to Arlington.
Of course. It's kind of like the Dallas Cowboys are now playing in Arlington. Before
Arlington Cowboys.
Before they were the Irving Cowboys because they were in Irving, Texas.
That is true. See? Jimmy Korderas getting some late-breaking news, which he's going to break here. Mr. Korderas is not going to be watching this show on the WWE Network. He is going to be live in Arlington on Sunday night. Yeah,
late development. I'm going to be in Dallas. I will be leaving Thursday evening. Arriving
now,
in
you're
Dallas.
going on behalf of Sportsnet, correct? Don't let the rumors start that, oh, man, Jimmy Korderas, he's going to be in town.
No,
he's going to bring the Would you bring the shirt? Do you bring the shirt on a trip like this? Because that's the rule. Always have your gear, Jimmy.
I know, but here's the deal. I don't have any of the new logo shirts.
Oh, they'd have to provide.
So they'd have to provide a new one. So I have the old blue SmackDown. I could bust out the old blue SmackDown.
Would you have a pair of black pants on hand?
Of course.
I mean, this is the wrestler mentality. You always have to be ready for that call. It could come at any time.
You always
Taker
have your
says, you know what I need for this Hell in a Cell? I want my main man from 2008. I want Jimmy K. Get him on the phone. Make it happen.
I'm just a phone call away, Taker.
There you go. And he hasn't changed it, whatever the area code is.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm sure they will find you. Well, we have lots to discuss about this particular WrestleMania. We're going to go through the matches. We are 11 deep for this show in Arlington. How would you give a grade to the build for this year's WrestleMania? Certainly hampered by numerous injuries, more so than any year I can recall. So it's been a shuffling of the deck constantly. The card we have and the build-up for it. Where is the anticipation level for Jimmy Korderas?
I always anticipate WrestleMania as a whole every year. I mean, obviously, the build has not been maybe up to what I would have liked to have seen going into this. I mean, it got going very late for me. Like, usually right after Royal Rumble, it's like full steam ahead. Here's the push. We're going in. I know there's a pay-per-view in between the Royal Rumble and WrestleMania, but usually it's like, man, here we go. It's WrestleMania season. But I think back to last year, too, sometimes. Last year, there was the same complaint. The build to WrestleMania wasn't quite what we would have liked.
No.
But the show was very entertaining.
It was a very good show.
It delivered. And I see that happening again this year, regardless of how the build went. I mean, like some of the things, I think the way Undertaker and Shane built on the final Raw was
a good ending. I think that feud was bookended by the strong return of Shane and the angle on Monday with the announce desk. I think those are easily the number one and two best things of that particular program.
And on the other side, the build for the Triple H Roman Reigns match, the brawl at the end fell a little short for me. Because you think back to the Brock Lesnar Undertaker pull apart from a couple of years ago, and you go, man, that felt intense. That felt real. You felt real emotion. And of course, the line, I'm going to kill you, you're going to have to, just cemented it. But this one, it almost felt like...
I still remember the pen stabbing, though, in the hand. Remember that?
That, too. I mean, like, there was something missing in this build. And I don't want to say that it's because of the fan reaction. That's a different story altogether. Just... They didn't, in my opinion, do Roman Reigns any favors of going into this.
No, I think that this story, if you're to outline it, I mean, the idea from watching this was, okay, Roman Reigns, you can certainly question him getting this title, especially the extended run he got at the end of the year going into the Royal Rumble, because it's very hard to get behind the story of he's going after his third title in as many months. And going into the Rumble, I mean, Triple H inserts himself, takes the title, and that was done in such a way where you didn't necessarily feel Roman Reigns was wronged. It was Hunter came into the Rumble, he won this match clean, and got the title, and it wasn't as if Roman Reigns was up in arms about this. He never cut that scathing promo that he was wrong, that he's out for revenge, and I don't think they've been able to hit the level that they did that great beatdown at TLC, and that was a turning point for Roman Reigns. The crowd loved that.
Yep.
It propelled him into the title match and working with Vince on television, and it's really cooled since the Rumble, and I just think that story has not been told, and I think they've been very gun-shy with Roman Reigns, putting him in front of a live crowd, talking on the mic, and you have a rather cool, like as in cold, title match, relatively speaking, to past builds.
No, I totally agree. And it goes back to, like I've made this analogy before, it's kind of like building a character, building a program is kind of like golf. I mean, you can be great off the tee, like the TLC, the beatdown. That's your drive, 320 yards down the middle of the fairway. But then you shank.
Their wedge game has been off.
Yeah, exactly.
And I don't know if they'll need a putter or not on Sunday.
Exactly. It's always the follow-up. And going into this match, I think it's sad. It's become a sad commentary for a lot of people that I think these two guys are going to have a really good match at WrestleMania. I have no doubt about that. I just feel bad that the big talk about this match is the reaction Roman Reigns is going to get as opposed to what actually is going to happen in this match.
I feel this match, I think the worst thing that could happen is you have a subdued crowd after everything they've seen. I don't think that a super negative reaction to Roman Reigns kills this match. In fact, I think in some ways it can enhance it as long as they are invested, because I go back to Hunter and Jericho, who that night, that was a very good match.
Yeah.
But you were not following Hogan and Rock, and it was a crowd that had seen the peak moment, and it was a very flat reaction for your big title match. As well, Hunter and Randy Orton that year in 2009 that had to follow The Undertaker and Shawn Michaels. That is, I think, your worst case scenario of a crowd that just doesn't care. I think if they treat Hunter as this giant baby face and they hate Roman, at least it's going to be an electric reaction, which I just think it's sitting on your hands is what I would be most concerned, because they're following a lot, Jimmy, with all the stipulation matches, everything that you'll have seen. You know The Undertaker and Shane is going to have so many bells and whistles attached to it, and Hunter and Roman have to go out there and have a traditional match and hook that crowd that's been sitting there for 5 hours by that point.
Absolutely. And here's the other thing, too. In my opinion, what the WWE needs to do, in my opinion, is stop trying to convince everybody at WrestleMania that they're trying to present Roman Reigns as this huge babyface. If he gets that negative reaction, which we all expect, and they boo him out of the stadium, go with it.
Yes.
I like it. Embrace it. And then have Roman come out on Monday night in front of that rabid crowd, because you know they're going to be nuts again and
just
American
run them
Airlines
all
Center,
down.
and just come out and have his die Rocky die moment. You know,
because that's with Roman Reigns promos, it's like there's a big disconnect between, I think, the average fan that you can watch a promo and you react when there's a connection to reality. And this guy, I don't think you have that genuine emotion, whereas the scenario you throw out for Monday, I think people can totally buy that this guy is frustrated with this crowd and is sick of trying of endearing himself to that crowd, that he just cuts that scathing promo on all these people. You will get a great reaction. And you look at the lineup of baby faces he has coming, whether it's Dean Ambrose immediately afterwards and the returns of Rollins, of Cena. I mean, you have the rest of your year mapped out.
Randy Orton. I mean, you got guys there that are...
And there's no reason that this Roman Reigns #1 babyface spot, maybe it's a year away. There's nothing wrong with that. He's not in a position where he has to be that babyface role where so much is tied up like John Cena was. Roman Reigns, to me, is a flexible character that can have a long heel run, and at the end of it, you could turn him when the audience is ready at that point. I think there are so many benefits, and I can't see a reason to continue and fight this, because it's going to become the in thing to just go against him. And I just look at the programs coming out of it. It just fits really well. Yeah,
it's become more or less a pack mentality now when it comes to Roman Reigns. So, hey, just go with it. Why not?
So is there any way you see Hunter retaining the title, or is this pretty foregone conclusion?
I think so. I mean, it's been building to this for, 2 years now? They've been building to this moment. I don't see them pulling the rug out from under Reigns 2 years in a row.
Yeah.
I mean, so I think that's the course. And then I think it's going to be one of those deals where they're going to call an audible on Monday, depending on the reaction from Sunday night. If it is like we all anticipate, then maybe they do go that course, and like you said, that scathing promo just run down everybody.
All right. I'm going to go back to Hunter because it'll tie in, I think, to the outcome of the Hell in a Cell match as well, what happens to Hunter after WrestleMania. But The Undertaker and Shane McMahon, I've discussed my opinions. I was not a big fan of the thinking behind this match because of that spot that Shane McMahon is occupying. That said, this has been pushed as the main event of the show. I don't think it's going to be in the final slot in the night, but it has been presented as the A program going in. And they did a very good job on Monday. Shane is in outstanding shape. Yeah. I mean, his physique compared to his heyday, so to speak. I mean, he looks incredible. And this match, I think that you're going to see just about every bit of the smoke and mirrors, run-ins, a big stunt you've almost guaranteed has to happen. But the outcome is what I think intrigues everyone here. Yeah. Whether The Undertaker wins or Shane McMahon wins, I think there's a genuine curiosity of where they go. The booking of this, to me, supersedes the actual in-ring.
Yeah, and that's the good thing going into this is there is that question mark. There isn't that, like in the World Heavyweight Championship match, everybody is under the impression and assuming that Roman Reigns will come out victorious. And in this match, you can make a case for either guy, and you can't really say, I see this. I see Undertaker winning, or I'm almost certain that Shane's going to win. It's still up in the air. And you've talked about this before, John, where the dynamic has changed for the business model of the WWE now with the WWE Network.
Right.
WrestleMania, in theory, should be the conclusion to a lot of storylines, but maybe not all of them have to end at WrestleMania. Maybe this storyline for Control of Raw doesn't end at WrestleMania. Maybe it continues afterwards. And let me just present a little scenario out there.
Go for it.
The Jimmy Korderas fantasy booking cap is on right now. The hamster's on the wheel, as we like to say.
We need a sponsor for this.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Oh, no. Sorry.
Tim?
Yeah. Orton?
Got to watch the video for that reference.
Randy's, it's in Quebec. But let's say, because I know a lot of people are anticipating, I've heard different scenarios being thrown out there, whether it's Shane gets a lot of help from somebody to beat The Undertaker because they want the authority out of power. The Undertaker beating Shane within an inch of his life and then just laying down and letting him cover him and sacrificing himself for the betterment of the company. Taker actually coming out and winning the match, overcoming whatever odds. I've heard all these scenarios, but let's just say for shiggles, as we like to say, they have this. It's going to be a lot of stunt work by Shane McMahon. I fear that he's going to take one bump that will rival what Mick Foley did. I'm not saying it'll be on the outside of the cage, but something's going to be really, really crazy.
I agree with you, and I'm not a big fan of the stunt shows and just upping the bar so high, but right. I do anticipate that.
And somewhere along the lines, Shane pisses off Taker to the point where Taker snaps and says, okay, I'm going to end this kid. There's the big bump. Let it breathe. Let everybody absorb it. Taker's not done. Picks him up, tombstone. Refuses to pin him. Wait, let it breathe. Let it breathe, a little drama. Picks him up again, second tombstone. Still won't pin him. Goes for a third. The referee steps in and goes, come on, I think he's had enough this match. He has none of that. Bye-bye, referee, whatever you want to do to him. Hits a third tombstone. Here comes Vince McMahon. Orders the referee on the outside to unlock the cage. He comes in and says, okay, I think you've made your point. That's enough. End it. Pin him. Taker refuses, gives him the look. Vince slaps Taker. Taker goozles him, picks him up. There's a tombstone on Vince. Vince and Shane are laying side by side in the ring. Taker gives him the old one-knee salute, walks away. We really get no finish, which I know will piss a lot of people off at WrestleMania, not having a finish to this match. But Taker makes a statement. You leave the control of Raw up in the air still to be decided later on, and it's not Taker's last WrestleMania. I don't know. I'm just trying to think outside the box and maybe try to avoid all the smoke and mirrors and all the run-ins and interference that we're expecting.
Well, to your scenario, I think they could get away with that and circumvent the backlash to a non-finish by simply he lays them both out, beats Shane, and it's Shane and Vince are gone, and Raw is still up, and I guess it kind of defaults to the authority. But the elimination of Vince and Shane, you can still get that, battle for control of what is the state of Raw coming out of WrestleMania, and Vince and Shane are just eliminated from television.
Possibly. Like I said, I'm just trying to think.
Like 3 tombstones, Shane should not ever be coming back after that.
Exactly.
Or at least for a long, long time.
Exactly. So like I said, I'm just trying to think of something different, something that might pique interest later, because like you've said, and it's always about what's next, and the business model has changed with the network, so maybe leading into Monday night.
They've stacked a lot into this. I think at its core, it's control of Raw, which I think is you should really just try and streamline this storyline to that, because we had the first week where this mysterious safety deposit box was introduced that never has been brought up since.
Right.
We've had the addition of the stipulation that if The Undertaker loses, it's his last WrestleMania, even though if Shane wins, Vince would not theoretically be in control to enforce that. I think they've thrown a lot here, which is, I think, confusing the viewer to some degree.
Right.
We've seen when Shane has gotten physical with The Undertaker for the majority of this, it's been hard to watch at times. And I can only envision seeing Shane McMahon beating The Undertaker at WrestleMania. I think that audience, I don't know how you possibly react to that in a positive light, to seeing The Undertaker, the most storied character in WrestleMania history. It's one thing to lose. It's another that it's Shane McMahon to beat him. And I just cannot fathom that being the final, the finality to this match. And that's why I feel The Undertaker does win this match through whatever scenario it is.
Yeah, and that's why I totally agree with that. And that's why I'm trying to present a different scenario where you could still continue with that battle for Raw and not have Taker lose, because let's face it. And you talk about Shane's presentation. You know, all his striking, for example, is very, you know, it's not working style. Anyways, it looks very
awkward.
Awkward. Yes.
Let's be kind.
Yes.
So going back to Hunter coming out of WrestleMania, control of Raw. I mean, what do you envision here? Because another thing is that WrestleMania, it's as much you're playing to an audience that is the vast majority, they're subscribing to the network. We see, you know, peaks and valleys for the network, but it's not a crazy, ridiculous amount. And this is not an individual buy kind of show. So with WrestleMania, you're trying to bring in as many of those people that only watch one show a year, and hopefully they want to keep the network beyond just WrestleMania and the free period they have. So I think coming out of WrestleMania, you want to have something big to anticipate this spring. Do you envision that being the brand split, and what happens with all of this in terms of Raw, SmackDown? Because they have teased this big change to Raw, and whether Shane wins or not, I think you have to continue forward with that, with the control of Raw being one of the key stories.
Yeah, I've been a big proponent of the brand split or the brand extension, whatever they want to label it, for a long time, because I was part of the original one, and it allowed talent to be seen on television. I mean, having specific Raw talent, and they did, you know, back then they did internal numbers. They did polls that said that 70% of the audience that watched Raw didn't watch SmackDown, and vice versa. So, you know, there was amongst the audience almost like a brand loyalty as well. Like people would watch Raw, and some of them wouldn't tune into SmackDown, and some people preferred SmackDown, which back then was, we were proud to say we were the wrestling show, you know, as opposed to the entertainment show. It was kind of like that friendly rivalry amongst, you know.
No necrophilia on this show.
No. We're gonna have some straight wrestling matches, and that was with Paul Heyman in charge. So you never know what you're gonna get.
Yeah,
so.
Al Wilson died on that show.
Exactly.
So I mean, we had our collage of presentation.
Teddy Long had heart attack. You know,
that's true. That's
during
true.
his wedding to
if
Chris.
you were an elderly gentleman on SmackDown, be careful. There was a bit of a fatality rate.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm a big proponent of it. I'd like to see it eventually down the road. Maybe we could see, if Shane does end up taking over Raw, and maybe Stephanie takes over SmackDown, and there's that rivalry between them two, Hunter has to regroup now. Maybe because he's been so attached to NXT, maybe there's a way they could create another sort of invasion type angle, but one that could actually work this time with some guys that people actually know. Because the first time they tried it, you know, the big names from WCW weren't part of the invasion angle, so it didn't work. You know, obviously there was a concerted effort because it was WCW, not to make them look like the superior brand. Now that NXT is part of the WWE umbrella, maybe there's not as much resistance to them coming up and actually being presented as equals.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Then we move on to the no-holds-barred street fight with Brock Lesnar and Dean Ambrose. This is one match, Jimmy, I mean, you can go many different ways on the majority of the matches on this card. This one, I feel Dean Ambrose needs a big win here. I think that somebody that is your regular attraction week after week, they need that big win. And I think that Lesnar can afford the loss. And with Dean Ambrose, I would just like to see somebody that's in that middle of the card to slightly upper mid-card role to get that big win, and we tell our audience we're going with this guy. And I think Dean Ambrose represents that, and I feel he should win this match.
I have a gut feeling that he will, and I don't know. I mean, obviously, again, more predictions out there. Will the Wyatts get involved and somehow cost Brock Lesnar the match? But I agree with you. Brock Lesnar doesn't get hurt by a loss here. Brock Lesnar's a special attraction. All it will do is enhance Dean Ambrose, to have Dean Ambrose win this match. It looks like to me Dean Ambrose is being positioned as the future, maybe top babyface in light of the potential Roman Reigns not working out. And like you said earlier, that would be a perfect rivalry between him and a champion Roman Reigns as a heel.
I think you could get some juice out of that too, where we don't just do the stereotypical Roman turns and now he suddenly hates Dean. I think you could do, hey, Roman explains, listen, you know what I've been through here. This is not any personal problem with you. And you have these two that we know Roman's turning, but these two still have that allegiance.
Right.
And then when Roman finally stabs his friend in the back, then you get some real momentum behind that turn. And that can be your program. That can take you right through to June. I mean, there's a great story there. And Rollins eventually returning, who should be, to me, a top babyface when he comes back. I like that idea and direction quite a lot with Reigns, Ambrose, and eventually getting Rollins coming back too for his title.
Maybe people will get their wish and have that Shield triple threat match either at SummerSlam or maybe even, can you put it off till next year at WrestleMania? Maybe that's your main event.
So in this one, I think that they're going to get a lot of time in this street fight. I am hoping we don't see a chainsaw spot.
I don't know how it's kind of like
they kind of got to, I guess. They've kind of promised it. I just think it's going to be too goofy. I think there's a certain threshold of which you can accept in a street fight with the wacky violence. But to me, a chainsaw is just imagining Brock Lesnar wielding a chainsaw. I mean, it's a visual that I think they will go that direction. And a table is going to get sawed in half, Jimmy.
Well, I get the whole suspension of disbelief, but that is there's going to be I need a lot of suspension for that one.
The branding iron. I think that was. You light it on fire, and Dean misses Brock, and that crowd, they see fire. You know what the reaction's going to be.
Exactly.
And you don't have to burn anybody. We're not going to get crazy. But I think that would have been such an easier weapon to incorporate.
Simple and effective.
No, we got to have a chainsaw. So I think me and Jimmy in agreement on the street fight. Let's move on down the card. We've got the three-way match with Charlotte, Becky Lynch, and Sasha Banks. I feel that this match, it's more so. The build-up's been what it's been. I think it's, hey, here are the three women from NXT. They are on this gigantic stage at WrestleMania. I think they are going to be put in the role to have a great match, which I'm sure is going to be well thought out in advance. And I think this is going to be one that is treated as a monumental match for the women coming out of WrestleMania. And it's one they reference in hindsight, as opposed to one of, it's a match that has been built up. But I don't think it necessarily has the anticipation that it's in hindsight going to be looked back upon as a major cornerstone for the WWE women's the evolution of that division as well.
But I think this is the great next step for the Divas revolution. Absolutely. In this match, like you said, I think the ladies are going to be blow away in this one. They're going to leave it all out there. I anticipate Sasha winning specifically because that audience will eat it up so much. The place will explode with Sasha winning the Divas Championship. And, especially we go, again, going all the way back to what we anticipate will happen in the main event with Roman Reigns and the reaction he's going to get. Conversely, Sasha will get the absolutely opposite reaction. I think that's a nice counterbalance, at least for that audience.
The New Day taking on the League of Nations. It's 3-on-4. Tag titles are not on the line. The New Day has had pretty much a clean sweep in every match going into this one. So I don't know if it's necessarily going to be a handicap for them to be a man short. lots of speculation. This could be The Rock getting involved potentially, or doing something to really put the New Day in a featured spot at WrestleMania. I think the New Day is going to win this match. I think it's going to be largely a showcase for them. Yep. That's about all. I can't say this is one of those matches that you're just counting down the minutes for.
I know. I mean, I agree with you. I think maybe this is where The Rock gets used at WrestleMania, and New Day is over. Do they need the rub? Maybe not, but you're getting a rub from The Rock, and that helps everybody except if you're his cousin.
The spot I want to see, Jimmy, that I've been discussing is Kevin Von Erich applying the claw to someone on this show, and this might be as good a match as any.
Oh, maybe. Well, he's a babyface, so he wouldn't do it to anybody wearing a unicorn. So,
yeah, you couldn't deliver it. Maybe that's a great idea. He could maybe Kevin Von Erich. He comes out and can't give it to the New Day, and then Rusev gets in his face and sells the claw. That thing would just get such a big reaction. Kevin Von Erich delivering the claw in Texas. I mean, come on, Jimmy. You can't screw that one up.
No, absolutely not. That's money. Book it.
Lots. Chris Jericho and AJ Styles. The match was finalized on Monday. This should be. I think this is going to be probably. I'm not even going to call it a sleeper match on the card.
No.
But this could be match of the night. There's no reason it can't be, given the fact that these two, big stage, and the fact I like the idea that we have as of right now. 8 matches on the WrestleMania portion, 3 on the kickoff show, and of course, 8 matches spread out over 4 hours. It doesn't mean you have infinite time, but it seems like each match is going to get. I don't think we're going to get guys being shortchanged this year.
Hopefully not. And like you said, this match, again, not a sleeper because this will probably be the best wrestling match on the show.
I like that there's no bells and whistles to this. It's just going to be a straight match, 2 great performers. I'm very much looking forward to it. And AJ Styles, one of the, not the only guy, but one of the rare guys in the history that has worked both the January 4th Tokyo Dome and WrestleMania in the same year that he will get to when he competes on Sunday.
See the stuff you learn here?
Lots of stuff, folks.
Lots of stuff.
So I like this match. I assume Styles wins.
Yeah, I would assume he gets his first WrestleMania and gets his WrestleMania moment. Perfect opponent. Jericho just makes me laugh.
He's been excellent in this run.
He's been fantastic. Just being that really old school hero, just calling people names, jerks and stuff like that.
You are a stupid man.
Yeah, like it's almost like your next door neighbor. You're cussing out the kids for playing hockey on the road or something, whatever.
Is there any way that we get? I mean, the build-up for this. There have been lots of distractions throughout this particular build-up. The whole crowd starts chanting, and it forces Jericho to get rolled up and loses because of the ultimate distraction finish from the largest crowd the WWE has ever had.
I hope not.
I say this facetiously.
Yes, I hope not. Please no.
If I never see that finish again, the distraction causing the roll-up, I'll be a happy man, Jimmy.
You'd think they'd learn by now.
I think they do it for their own amusement. I really feel. Yeah. Let's continue on. 7-way for the IC title in a ladder match. I think there are a few too many bodies in this particular match, Jimmy. We have Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, Dolph Ziggler, The Miz, Stardust, Cara, and Zack Ryder.
Okay.
Nailed them. I really feel that Sami Zayn needs a big win here because, they always say about bringing up somebody right in the build-up to WrestleMania, it's often you will get lost in the shuffle, and I think that has been the case for Sami Zayn, where he's been brought up, inserted into this match. They haven't really gone into the backstory with Owens and Zayn, Zayn's injury last year. So I think that I think it would be really tough for him to just come out of this without the title. I think taking Owens' title on a major stage, and then you can section those two off for a feud out of this. That would be my preference, but who knows where this goes?
Well, if you look at the lineup like you just did, the two, in my opinion, the two viable choices are Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn to come out of this with the title.
Not a Cara win?
No, there's going to be an over/under. Never mind, I won't go with the injury joke. That's too easy. But anyways, I agree with you that Sami Zayn could benefit hugely from a victory here. But if there is a circumstance where you can keep the title on Kevin Owens, it would be in this type of match where it's a multi-man match and he doesn't get pinned in this match, and you can have a feud or rivalry later down the road. But then conversely, with Sami Zayn winning this match, you have the same argument. Kevin Owens can complain that he was never pinned. He was put up against 6 other opponents. It's not fair, whatever, and continue there. But I agree. They should go and do the backstory too, and give us a little history on these guys. Like, hardcore fans know it. The casual WWE fan doesn't.
Okay, let's quickly go through the rest. Any pick for the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal? It is not quite the all-star lineup in this particular match.
I'm assuming providing he gets entered, I would think Braun Strowman maybe. But,
that's what most.
But
there are 4 slots apparently open for this, so he could easily come in and win this. I don't think this is a battle royal that anyone looks at as having any kind of substance.
I look at the Andre the Giant Battle Royal as this generation's King of the Ring winner. It doesn't really propel anybody.
No, I think anyone could win this, and I don't think anyone's going to be up in arms.
I was hoping that Cesaro would actually come back for this, but then upon further review, I thought, nah, let's wait.
That might actually be, that would hurt him maybe more to win this a second time. Amazing.
Exactly.
It is the King of the Ring. Yeah. We've got then on the kickoff show, we've got Kalisto and Ryback. I expect this to be the first match we see that night, and I think Kalisto just, he beats the Giant and retains. I think it'll be, that's about it. And I think they'll have fine match.
Yeah, simple David and Goliath story, pretty much.
The 5-on-5 Divas tag match to get everybody here into this match, including the late additions of Emma and Eva Marie up from NXT. Do you expect both to be main roster performers beyond WrestleMania?
I think so. I think that it was by design, and I know there was a rumor out there saying that they expected a different reaction for Eva Marie, and I don't know if that's entirely true because, she does go on to Team Total Diva, I guess. And the other girls reacted negatively towards her. So,
I think that was the intent.
I think the intent, and they got the desired reaction, and she's going to get nuclear heat. Regardless of what kind of heat you want to call it, it's still big heat, which, again, like you said earlier, as long as you're getting a reaction.
And then the Usos and the Dudley boys, I think that you could go either way here, and we probably get a table spot.
Probably.
The Dudleys go through a table, maybe.
Yeah, it'll be a good match, but... Yeah, it's, again, just pre-show stuff.
So there you go. So the pre-show, those 3 matches will be called by Mauro Ranallo, Jerry Lawler, and Byron Saxton. And then they'll flip on over Michael Cole and JBL, presumably with Byron Saxton, who I guess is going to be calling the whole show, you would think. Oh. It's going to be a long night for Byron Saxton.
Pack a lunch.
Well, maybe you don't want to eat a lunch beforehand.
Good point.
Yeah,
good point.
Keep yourself clean.
Yeah, and don't drink a lot.
There's no bathroom breaks during WrestleMania, unless you're Booker T.
Yes.
He is the only exception, apparently.
Yeah.
So there you go. That is WrestleMania. Jimmy is going to be heading down to Dallas. So next week, we will be doing a review of WrestleMania, and we'll hear from Jimmy's live perspective of WrestleMania and whatever else you catch. Is there anything else on the docket you're hoping to catch beyond WrestleMania?
Obviously, Friday night NXT, like from a purely wrestling standpoint, that's the show that many are looking forward to, including myself. Hall of Fame's going to be interesting. I kind of look at that group, an eclectic group that's going in this year, and they kind of remind me of wrestling's version of the Cantina bar in Star Wars.
It's a great analogy. This is eclectic is probably a good one. There's some years where it's like there's a lot of the speeches I'm looking forward to. This year, I'm sure Sting will have a fine speech. I'm sure Michael Hayes is going to have a great speech. Yeah. And beyond that, I don't really know what to expect. But there is a 3.5-hour window for this thing on the network. I cannot possibly see this going that long. That seems like they are.
I'm sure they will.
Well, I will take this over years past where they had to turn it around to air on the USA Network that very night and edit it down, so everyone's speech got cut down so much. Now you have the opposite, where that special on the USA Network isn't airing till Thursday, so guys can essentially go and talk as long as they choose to. Yeah. Well, until Vince McMahon chooses to, and then he sends Kane out.
They need to bring Jack Lanza back with his tie.
Any pick on who might get the hook?
Wow. I'm trying to think of who's doing induction speeches. I'm trying to think here.
Ric Flair could actually, this guy has probably said 5 words since he's been on television with Charlotte, so this could
he's probably got a lot to say.
He could just let it he's going to let it all out maybe and putting over Sting before he inducts him. So that's coming up this weekend. You can follow him at Jimmy Korderas. We have WrestleMania week programming at liveaudiowrestling.com each and every day, including a TakeOver post-show Friday night, Hall of Fame post-show Saturday night, and then Sunday at 11 Eastern, 3-hour edition of The Law right after WrestleMania. It'll be a roundtable with Jason Agnew, Dan Lavransky, Wei Ting, and myself. It's going to be a very, very busy night as we go through everything from WrestleMania and WrestleMania weekend. So, Jimmy, have a safe trip down to Dallas/Arlington, and we'll be back next week looking at what happens at WrestleMania 32.